And now I would like to hand over to Dr. Jayshree Singh from the Bhopal Novels University. She is a researcher in the field of English and American Studies, and she is associated professor at the Bhopal Novels University at the Faculty of Social Science. And today she will give us an insight on her work on the poetry of Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, and especially on the passion and the special relationship Goethe had to nature and Goethe articulated in his Poetics. So we are looking forward to that presentation. And Dr. Singh, are you there?
I start reading. First, I'll introduce Goethe. I'm very much thankful that I've been given chance here because this is my first presentation in German literature, and especially feeling a very much important author of his times who has been so prominently in view of living sustainability in his times. But people think that he was just a literary man, more towards, expressing words in his scientific temperament manner. But more and more he started, when he started producing his writings, people came to know that he has been saying something which perhaps might not be relevant at that time, because it was a time of industrial revolution also, because his birth year is 1749 to 1832. So naturally, it was a time of industrial revolution, and when such kind of writings when came up through such rationality and talking about all kind of empirical experiments that to be taken up to have frontiers and expansions. So there, this kind of author was really a different kind of strand he was giving, and he was giving a lot of interventions to understand, to collaborate the unity in diversity, and to create oneness in whatever contemplation we are doing and whatever we are grabbing through our gaze that is available in the prevalent natural world, whether through our hard work or through whatever the God's creation has given to us. So that time his authorship was so important for all, and he was on his own working so hard. I'll read about him in whatever I have got through the review of literature, that he was a German polymath. Polymath means that he had been a person of multiple intelligence. He wanted to go beyond in multidisciplinarily in picking up the collection of data from various other sources. He was not, you may say that he was a metaphysical poet also, because when you feel that something is touching to your heart and mind, and you start thinking, and when you question your spirit, your own existence, then only you go beyond your whatever the boundaries. So he was a polymath who is widely regarded as the greatest and the most influential writer in the German language. His work has had a wide-ranging influence on literary, political, philosophical thought in the Western world from the late 18th century to the present. He was a poet. He has written many poems, Wanders Nachtly. He was also a playwright. He wrote a poetic script that play Faust. Then novelist he was also. Sorrows of Werther. Young Werther is a novel. Then he was a scientist. If we go through his book, A Metamorphosis of Plants, that he wrote during his journey to Italy. And then he was also a great statesman, because he was actually a legal lawyer from a legal field. And then he was a theatre director and critic. His works include plays, poetry, and aesthetic criticism, as well as treatises on botany, anatomy, and color. So he's a well-read person. Goethe took up residence in Weimar in 1775 following the success of his first novel, The Sorrows of Young Werther, and joined a thriving intellectual and cultural environment under the patronage of Duchess Anna Amalia that formed the basis of Weimar classicism. So Weimar is a very famous play in Germany, and classicism here it refers that he, for his argumentative, argumentative support, he used to gather a lot of references from the Greek or from other kind of biblical resources, and that he kept using from here and there to be a mythical poet also. He was ennobled by Karl August, Duke of Saxe-Weimar in 1782. Goethe was an early participant in the Sturm und Drang literary movement. And in this Sturm und Drang movement, he was one of the, may say a very enthusiastic aspirant, because he saw an individuality not from the point of, just as a mere human figure, but he wanted that kind of humanism in the structure of individuality, where they can be a one-to-one relationship, more and more affinity that could bring, not only self-development, self-capacity, orientation should be there, but also kind of different perspective that how the nature's creation helps building the human personality. And that was the main point of his scientific temperament, because he always visualized every object of nature from the point of like how it helps in evolving, building, and then again, going back to the root, and then again resurrecting with its own kind of, a different spirit. So that kind of dynamic energy that he found or he gave to this movement. And during his first 10 years in Weimar, Goethe became a member of the Duke's Privy Council, 1776 to 1785. He sat on the War and Highway Commissions, oversaw the reopening of silver mines in nearby Limenu, and implemented a series of administrative reforms at the University of Jena. He also contributed to the planning of Weimar's Botanical Park and the rebuilding of its ducal palace. So I'll just see if I can share. I think my PowerPoint is there. I can see on my screen. This I have read. This again, I just skipped this slide a little. I'll come to the next slide. Goethe's first major scientific work, The Metamorphosis of Plants, was published after he returned from a 1788 tour of Italy. In 1791, he was made managing director of the theatre at Weimar, and in 1794, he began a friendship with the dramatist, historian, and philosopher Friedrich Schiller, whose plays he premiered until Schiller's death in 1805. During this period, Goethe published his second novel, Wilhelm Meister's Apprenticeship, the verse epic Hermann and Dorothea, and in 1808, the first part of his most celebrated drama, Faust. His conversations and various shared undertakings throughout the 1790s with Schiller, Johann Gottlieb, Fichte, Johann Gottfried, Herder, Alexander von Humboldt, Wilhelm von Humboldt, and August and Friedrich Schlegel have come to be collectively termed Weimar classicism. The metamorphosis of the plants. I've just taken one excerpt, very much the beginning of the text that it begins. It's translated from the German by Frederick Turner and Susanna Oswald. Here he says, "You're perplexed, my love." Now, initially he is very, in a dialogue form, and very dramatically he is in a conversation. "You are perplexed, my love, by this thousand-fold mixed profusion, flowering tumultuously everywhere over the garden grounds. So many names you are hearing, but one suppresses another." Now here he wants to say that so many of the images of the beauteous forms that been there in the lawn or in the garden or in the orchard, that has made him so attractively drawn to those that he is, jumbling from here and there, that which flower's name he should remember, which person he has to work on or more, personify it. So echoing barbarously the sound makes in the ear. Each of their shapes is alike, yet none resembles the other. So much of variety is there in that creation that it's very difficult for a human or as an individual to just focus on a particular object so that the subjectivity may have some kind of a target to build up. So thus the whole of the choir points to a secret law. So here he says that nature is has its own uh, genuineness, and human with his ingenuity tries to explore the secret law and points to a holy puzzle. I wish, lovely friend, that I were able to happily hand you at once the disentangling word. So here he is dialectically talking, conversing with his own spirit, with his own mind, as well as externalization is also there with the natural world through his gaze. Watch now and be transformed, how bit by bit the plant form. So he has visualized in his mind, in his imagination, through his intellect, the formation of plant. He was standing there, his gaze kept on lingering there, and he felt that it's how the flower gets bloom. So guided stepwise builds to emerge in a blossom and fruit. Out of the germ it unfolds. The moment the still and fertile lap of the earth has livingly let it go out into life. So he's here metaphorically explaining the individual self that interacts with nature. Now there are two sides of interaction. One is that you want to dominate, and other is that you want to float into that kind of loveliness. So what kind of life one develops in one's personality? There where the charm of light, the holy eternal mover, new ushers in the most delicate structures of burgeoning leaves. This was a power that simply slept in the seed. A prototype lay there closed, curled up in itself inside the husk. Leaf and taproot and seed as yet half formed and colorless. Thus the dry kernel holds and protects the dormant life. Here I'm reminded of Percy B. Shelley's Ode to the West Wind, where he says that the stormy autumn winds disperses the dry leaves and scatters the seeds into the earth, and they go into hibernation, live there, have their dormant status, and finally that same again, like a phoenix, grow up whenever there are showers of rain or the spring season comes back. So this kind of evolution process the human life goes through, and it's a natural cycle, and it's a natural world. The truth of this he elaborates in his other books also through different kind of strategies. So let's get back to another. During this period, Goethe published his second novel, Wilhelm Meister's Apprenticeship, the verse epic, Hermann and Dorothea. In 1808, the first part of his most celebrated drama, Faust. His conversations and various shared undertakings throughout the 1790s with Schiller, Johann Gottlieb Fichte, Johann Gottfried Herder, Alexander von Humboldt, and all have come to be collectively termed Weimar Classicism. And here the German philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer named Wilhelm Meister's Apprenticeship as one of the greatest novels ever written, and even American philosopher and essayist Ralph Waldo Emerson appreciated it as one of the 6 representative men in his work of the same name. Goethe's comments and observations from the basis of several biographical works, notably Johann Peter Eckermann's Conversation with Goethe. His poems were set to music by many composers, including Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, Ludwig van Beethoven, Franz Schubert, Hector Verlois, Franz Liszt, Richard Wagner, and Gustav Mahler. In a way, I'm just, going out of track through Jaina's declaration mission. I'm here more giving tribute to my great author, and to the people whosoever mentored me in this kind of
Dr.
field
Singh?
to understand.
Dr.
Uh,
Singh?
I just something more about Goethe here, especially why he is so important in maintaining the living sustainability in his writing. So here I just digress from there into my script of the paper. He, Goethe is one of the early participants of the German literary movement of storm and stress. Believed that the world in itself a natural genius, and this genie shapes human subjectivity towards the natural world, wherein nature and human self are in the lens to this to see the subjectivity in context of reality.
Dr. Singh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I'm very sorry, but we have to look on the time, and it would be great if you can
Sure,
come to
I'll
the
wind up.
conclusion.
Okay.
That
May
would
I
be
have
great.
2 minutes to conclude?
Yeah, 2 minutes or
Okay.
3 minutes. Thank you.
Oh, perfect. So let me just get back to my last slides. So in those days, there was focus on the sense of fantasy and freedom. Um, that is, in Sturm und Drang epoch, die Menschen glaubten, dass die Individualität in der Einheit von Liebe, Seele und Geist eindecken soll. Indeed, the young generation like Goethe, who had been influenced by Sturm und Drang, also paved the way for the classical period of modern German literature. From the middle of the 18th century to Goethe's death in 1832, which is also known as Goethe's Zeit or Weimarer Klassik or Weimarer Klassismus, it was in the phase Goethe had set the stem of his personality by looking at dogmas with a critical sense and at primitive conditions with an awakened interest and independent expression. It was a transition phase for the pseudo-classic or unclassic Germanic stock to reduce their servile imitation from French classical models and to get back to the assertion of spontaneous expression with individuality and subjectivity to produce realistic creative writings. In this reference, Rousseau, who was a theorist of social contract theory, a well-known philosopher of late 18th century, influenced young generation across Europe because of his bizarre and romantic notions of human life. He actually said that there should be some natural state of affairs to build the human personality. But as he used to feel that there's a lot of corruption in the society prevailing, and that needs to be diverted, and some kind of a new social structure need to be developed. So he said, "Zurück zur Natur. Man wendete sich gegen die Anthroität und Tradition. Man bevorzugte Freistaat der Tradition und der Gesetze. Man betonte Originalität statt Nachahmung. Trieb statt Tradition, Freiheit statt der gebundenen gesellschaftlichen Regeln." Goethe, as one of the early participants of the German literary movement of storm and stress, believed that the world in itself a natural genius, and this shapes human subjectivity towards a natural world, whereas nature and the human self are in the lens to see the subjectivity in context of reality. Yet that reality seems to influence the human not in subjective perspectivity, rather in objectivity, so it increases the desire to achieve it. The moment the overwhelming influence of the desire overrides self-subjectivity, the best example of the play Faust, there when it is the cause of solistic idealism, which artlessly cater to the self-pride, self-conceit, self-determined opinions or beliefs. And the sorrows of young Werther also relates to this kind of idea, and therefore there is at the end a kind of he attempted to do suicide because he felt that somewhere he's failing to get connected to the societal attributable structures. Thank you.
And thank you very much for the insights in your research on Johann Wolfgang von Goethe's Poetics and its importance of rethinking our relationship to nature today. And I think we all can share your passion for Goethe's passion for nature, because we are here located in the area of Thuringia where Goethe lived, and in the landscapes where Goethe was wandering, and where Goethe got his impressions of his thinking about nature and its inherent value for our culture. So thank you very much for your insights and your contribution.